Welcome and welcome back to the Light Renegades. My name is Starr. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. To those that might be new, we are the Light Renegades. We are a collective of Pleiadian beings, bringing you information from the stratospheres that are ever expanding. We are disclosing cosmic secrets and bringing forward information that is hopefully allowing for you to stand ever more in your sovereignty and in your power. That being said, please bear with me, everyone. I am smack bang in the middle of a purge. We have the super full moon solar eclipse in Pisces at this time, and I'm definitely just in the puddle. I'm gone back to zero. I've gone back to nothing, to the beginning of it all expression, and I'm wading my way through. So please bear with me through this channeling. This is an incredibly, I realize that the energy from the Angelic Council is just such a vibration that when I even try and read this channeling, I can't seem to make the words make sense, because I know it's just a vibration of energy that is being brought forward through all of this. So, even if you feel like the words didn't make sense to you, know that the vibration has gone in and you've seeded it at a time when you need it. And I've actually been circling back through some content of my own expression here over the Light Renegades again, and it having a deeper resonance of understanding even to myself. So please remember that, everyone. Nothing is linear. The healing process isn't linear. Expanse is not linear, and you are allowed to be and experience whatever it is you wish to be experiencing. And this message is definitely a reflection of that. I would like to say that it is a lighter message than the Angelic Council has been brought forward up until this point. So, nothing to be, I guess, worried about over here. If you felt like the first expression was pretty heavy from them, we completely understand. They completely understand. But we are trying to break down consciousness. And this is something that they delved into a little bit deeper. I channeled this message pretty late last night, and I think this video will be going out probably at the end of the week, so you won't be in linear time. But this very much ties in with the message from the Galactic Alliance, which is our fractal of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I channeled the messages in the same evening. So I'm going to tag that in the description in case you don't watch this in real time as well, because I feel like the two notions go hand in hand. Just a slightly different perspective, but definitely a perspective that we've all been living in. And I realize whether you think that you've been indoctrinated by a religious aspect of your life or not, it has gone in somewhere, because it is absolutely everywhere. Even if you are a soul that has never, stepped into any sort of religious building, or you've never read a religious document of any kind, religious spiritual document of any kind, it has been brought to your notion through the mass media somewhere. So there is a layer of control that we are all still under. And I went through Catholic schooling, so it's been quite a difficult notion for me to break down some aspects of strict doctrine that definitely went into my subconscious mind, being a child in this spaces, and it deepest capacities that I wasn't even the conscious awareness of that it had gone in there somewhere, everyone. So, just remember that when moving forward within this space, please go easy with self, because you might think that, you haven't been swayed by any doctrine yet. You might come to these messages and it really, really hit you that somewhere you definitely have been, which is going to break down the consciousness, which is going to make you perhaps feel incredibly unstable. So please make sure to be looking after yourself. Please do get outside help if you need it. Make sure that you're looking after your physical body and your mental mind as well. Everyone, that has to go hand in hand. And this is something that I'll see in time and time again in this space. And, a deeper expression of that understanding will be brought forward through the Light Renegades when it is time. But we are talking again about religion and its understandings connected to the negative reptilian order. And if you are here for the first time, you have no idea what I'm talking about, you might want to go back and do some research on the negative reptilian order and what that means in its expression. Massive trigger warning, massive consciousness breaking aspect over here, everyone. So please go easy with self. And I wanted to share that the Angelic Council has been, it's been told to me, and what I feel in the expression, that it has been fronted by Michael, Metatron, and Lucifer in their understanding at this time. And I feel like this is going to be seeded in by you, how you take on those notions. And this was the last message from the Angelic Council, which you might want to go back and watch before seeding into this notion, because how we receive angelic understanding frequency is of a very neutral expression of light until it reaches our body, ourself, our consciousness, and then it becomes what we need it to be for our own personal experience. So whether you feel triggered by any of those expressions being brought forward, that is going to be up to you to understand in your seed of expression, your seed of consciousness, and know that we consider everything to be 50% light and 50% dark over here on the Light Renegades. And then there are more negative aspects of self-serving energy connected to darkness and to light at this point, everyone. And that is definitely something that I know that the Angelic Council and the GA is going to bring forward in its time. But there's been some expressions being brought to the surface right now where we're going to be tackling, spiritual communities and where they find themselves, and just how much the light hasn't been fully seeded into perhaps the expression of light that higher beings, expressions of the overhaul, looking after the entirety of Earth at this time would want it to be. So we're heading into even trickier territory in the future, everyone. So we're trying to seed in this notion now so that we can step lighter of foot moving forward in our expression. But yesterday's channeling from the Angelic Council was titled Religion, and they started with, "Dear souls, we step forward tentatively with an expression we know so many have been asking time and time again. Why religion? Why does it exist? Why are there so many understandings? Where do they stem from? The simple answer is you, consciousness. We have stressed this time and time again. That you are in a war of consciousness. What you believe is what is being crafted back to you. This is why we have stepped forward as this collective to you now as neutral as possible. You all come here with your own viewpoints and perspectives. We are asking that you shed that each time you sit with us and we are asking that you shed that each time you sit with us and just receive. Don't hold on to anything which you thought that you knew. Make way for understanding which you perhaps have had in mind in previous times, yet you just couldn't hold on to it long enough to make it true." And this is definitely something that I've been feeling. I've been understanding points in my journey where, I guess I was trying to break through the wall of many understandings, specifically that of religion. I remember being at school, being taught, a lot of things and thinking, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that expression. I'm not sure where I sit on that, but there not being space for me to be anything other than that. And I had quite a strange understanding through school, and because my family isn't inherently Catholic, but it was the best school around me in my area. Well, it wasn't actually my area, but my parents decided that was going to be a better school for me to go to in terms of education. So I got put through Catholic doctrination without actually being Catholic somewhere. So there was a very warped perception and understanding that went through myself and my expression. There was a method to the madness, I now see on all of that. And when I prayed, I felt something. When I read religious doctrine, I felt something. When I went into a church, I still enjoy stepping into a church from time to time, which might surprise some of you, but I feel something when I'm in those spaces, whether that be just from my childhood and the nostalgia of that, but I feel the light that is in those spaces. And I think that is what it is overall. Whenever I step into anything that has been I guess blessed by the understandings of those that are trying to seed in higher states of consciousness, you feel that as a vibration, whether this be a temple, whether this be a synagogue, whether this be a Roman Catholic church or anything in between. You feel that notion because everyone else has been seeding that expression. That's exactly what the Angelic Council are bringing forward, is this idea of our consciousness seeds in that light and that expression. So they're trying to take us back to a neutral space so that we can try and experience everything from a neutral standpoint, but just feeling the vibration and what that feels like to us and what that can potentially mean for us moving forward in a neutral space. And that is dependent upon life paths, so don't push yourself. And if you find yourself in a particular doctrine that suits you, know that you are supposed to be there. This is just a part of an expression that you might not even seed into this lifetime. You might hear this channel and you think, that's not for me, and that is completely okay. This is just about consciousness and where you feel most held and safest right now is what I want to share. But they continue with, "We ask you today, what do you believe and why? This is a simple notion, yet this perhaps the most profound question a being of consciousness could ask. What do you believe and why?" And I want to say, make that a journal prompt, moving forward again and again and again. What do I believe right now and why? What do I believe right now and why? And this is definitely something that I've had to say to myself time and time and time again on this path, because everything changes. My perspective changes. My reality shifts daily. I jump timelines, and sometimes I think, I don't know what is happening right here. What do I believe in this present given time? And I think, oh, that was incredibly different from yesterday. So I've jumped a timeline somewhere. What am I here to do? And I know that some of you out there in the collective seed in that expression too. So be aware of that. Religion has taken a turn, and we are stepping forward to expose the negative reptilian influence on such doctrine. And this is why this whole entire series exists. We promise you that the influence has been vast, and it stems through all fabrics of religion and understanding. No single religion is free from such bias, which shouldn't have surprised me, but I think somewhere it did. Yet we see so many of you truly seeing it now. The notions that lead to dead ends, the fractals of expression that lead you to feeling excluded in some way, like you are not enough. Many time you reach such expression, pause and understand that source, that energy, need never make you feel less than. It may break you down and to break you through, but never less than. And this idea of that if you are reading, something, or you are receiving information from a spec of religion, if it makes you feel less than, if it makes you feel, I guess not good about self, that is not seeding from a light-centered space. And, not this idea of breaking down of the ego. That is very different. And if you would like to, I guess discuss something that's been brought to your table, I'm very much open for that. But this idea of that if you engage with something and it doesn't make you feel good, if you feel like it's suppressing your expression in some way, try and seed in that notion of that perhaps this hasn't come from as light a source as you once thought. And that's going to be very different depending where you are in your life path and your understanding. But I can say that I didn't feel seen or safe going through Catholic school, and when I was very much questioning my sexuality. And that was something that I've been seeing it as a most expansive capacity. And now I understand a lot of why I feel what I feel. I've been both sexes a lot of the time and time again on my life's journeys. I resonate with understanding of reincarnation. So I've been masculine and feminine in my expression a lot. So I brought both of those aspects into this life. So there has been no differentiation between energy at this point. It's always just been an expression of all that is. But I felt like I was being put into a different brackets, at certain points throughout my schooling. I wasn't allowed to, I guess, express myself in the ways that I would have perhaps wanted to back then, because it was deemed as not okay. It was deemed as not, holy, godly. And yeah, it made me feel lesser than. So there's an expression for you. Apologies and trigger warnings on that with anyone that is here. But think about that, because there are going to be many, many, many notions that are brought to the table that I can bring forward so many just day-to-day aspects of life where I feel like it has been a space to make us feel less than, and that's been with purpose, everyone. Anytime you feel your energy waver, anytime you feel your energy dip, when you read a document of higher knowledge, ask yourself, is this truly for my highest good? Is this truly for my highest good? And you will know the difference. You will know that which has hit consciousness, or that which has hit a point of understanding that you now vibrate higher than. And this expression of that religion very much served a purpose at certain points in history, because we weren't able to reach deeper states of consciousness. So we needed those doctrines to bring us back into line to some degree, with what is right and wrong, and expressions back in those times, not necessarily in the here and now. So we are of an expanse now where we get to decide what we want the future to look like. Each soul here gets to do that. We all have life paths that we have chosen, but it's a very different understanding that we are now trying to seed in our expression, everyone. We don't necessarily need the information of the past to help us catapult forward. And I feel like that's just the base notion of what the Angelic Council are trying to bring forward. We are breaking down strict doctrine as you simply need it not any longer, not in the ways so many of you have been seeding expression for the longest time. Humanity has evolved past the point of needing a single book or scroll to explain it all. You hold the keys inside of you. You hold the keys each time you decide to experience it all without holding on to anything too tightly. We thought a more easeful expression until you have all made your shifts in the deepest layers of your expression yet. We thought a more easeful expression until you have all made your shifts through the deepest layers of your own expression yet. Consider this a pondering material. We know that so many of you like to think oh so very much. And apologies everyone, I'm still struggling to make words, sentences, everything make sense right now. But this idea of that we are going through massive shifts right now, specifically through 2024. We were told this is going to be the year of the collapse. I was not quite expecting myself to collapse in that point of expression as well, but here we are. And I know it's so that we can seed in a lighter expression moving into our future. And this idea of I was liking to think so much. It's okay to be thinking. It's okay to be using your logical mind at times, but keep bringing it back to soul. Keep bringing it back to heart. And I want to say that heart and soul's expression is very much in tandem, but it's a very different expression. When I sink into soul, I feel this at the pit of my stomach. It feels like it's just a rumbling that's below anything. My heart feels very much like an expansive expression, whereas my soul is like mine. It's like a rumbling at the pit of my stomach. It's like an expression that takes me down into the earth. I very much feel my soul as this raw expression of nature. It is wild, it is violent, it is light, it is darkness in its entirety. So remember that. Bring everything into soul, bring it into heart, but also into soul. What is it that you wish to be sitting with and to be seeding as your truth? Forget everything that you've ever been taught. Put yourself in a container of safety when you're delving into these expressions behind the scenes with self, because it can be quite destabilizing. I've definitely felt myself be destabilized time and time again on this path, and I'm grateful that I've been able to put myself in such notions where I've been able to hold myself in those expressions, but also there are times when I've just been completely on the floor, and you just have to experience that, and that be something where you find yourself. That's definitely where I've been the past few days. Specifically, yesterday was an incredibly challenging day for me, and I felt like, what is going on here? And I realized it was scripts of the past that were being brought to my attention. It was notions of the past that were being brought to my attention, so that I could face them all and see that, I no longer need those to be in my expression. I can release those and step forward into the capacities of my expanse right now. So remember that we are deep in shadow season. We have a couple more weeks of this yet, and a couple of weeks of grace season. So we have about a month of this expression, and wherever you find yourself is completely okay. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you would like to converse, even if this is just over email in your expression. I feel like that's right to share, but everything is always working out for your highest good, and the Angelic Council bring forward these notions not to break us down, not to make us fearful of the future and what's to come, but just to help us seed in our expression that we have been asking for. And if this isn't your space, that is completely fine. Stick to other channelings that we've been bringing forward. If this feels like too much for you, this might not be your space. If you feel completely destabilized from this, and this feels way too much for you, this is not your space, and that is completely okay. Wherever you find yourself in your life path is where you should be, and you have to take responsibility for one's own self and how you feel in any given moment. So please look after self, please look after soul, please look after the mental mind and the physical vessel. It has to all come in a combination of one, and different ways to be looking after. How to look after oneself looks very different in different expressions of, our expanse and our life path. And sometimes I'm very much like my inner child lead, and, they want me to be eating popcorn and eating sweets on the sofa, and that be okay. Other times in my expression, I'm completely in the midst of my fasting, and, I'm going into deep ceremony and meditation with self back to back to back. So both of those expressions are healing, and they are okay, is what I want to share. I don't know why that notion is coming forward, but it feels like it's there for some. So please have more compassion for self. That is definitely something that Teams of Light were trying to shed to me this week. They were like, you're being so hard on self. We have to snap you out of this notion, because you are not going to last much longer on this path if you continue to be, so hard on self behind the scenes. So remember that, everyone, seeding as much self-compassion as you can, because that wanting to berate self doesn't come from us. Our soul's expression doesn't want us to be in pain, doesn't want us to be berating ourselves for, us feeling pain, us feeling anything that we are feeling. That is not coming from soul. That is coming from outsourced understanding, mind control somewhere. I think life is just mind control at this point, and I see it in that expression at its deepest capacity, knowing that it is the utmost truth. So sorry to whomever that you find that triggering, but we have been controlled since the day we have come out of the womb. That is just fact. So I see it all as being part of this mind control system now. Whenever I feel something of, that makes me waver in my understanding of feeling the utmost amount of love and light, I think, hey, it's coming from that seeded notion that I do not want to be connected to, and I've had to be very strict on self with that, and I keep bringing myself back. No, that's not mine, that's not mine, that's not my expression, that's not how I truly feel. Okay, that's a bit of expression that I'm trying to work through in the present given time, but that notion of just seeding in such darkness from spaces that we are no longer want to be connecting into, remember that, and be hard on self in those expressions, because you deserve to feel happy and joyful and light every given moment of the day. And granted, we go through expanse and it's incredibly challenging at times, but there is a blanket that keeps washing over us, and it's not for our highest good, and it's not come from a space of something that we can't overcome. So break free, please break free every single time that you feel upset or depressed. Truly sink into that and think, where is this coming from? Is it for my highest good? Is this me breaking free, or is this me keeping myself trapped in a understanding that I need not be connecting to? And this is connected to religious doctrine too. If you're reading something, consuming something, you think this is not making me feel good, perhaps it is not yours any longer, and that might be incredibly challenging if this is something that you've held on to for a long time in your life. So please seek out outside sources for help and nourishment in those spaces. And if you are hitting this notion, you think I'm happy with where I am in my expression of my religion, my spirituality, whatever that means to you, you're on your path as well. There is no wrong path. Everyone is exactly where they're supposed to be, but this is just seeding in expression that is, I guess, I want to say at the forefront of where we find ourselves now in expanse, at least in my seeded expression of my reality. You know, this is all coming from my self soul as well, but I see this as my truth, and you get to decide whether you want to be in this expression as well or not. Everyone, you have free will. You have to listen to yourself and your soul, what is feeling good to you in any given moment, and that can waver, that can change. You know, my understanding of my expression has been on such a massive expanse that it feels like every minute everything is changing, specifically right now. So don't hold on to anything too tightly, but allow for yourself to be neutral in understanding right now, and just being ready to seed in notions that you perhaps have had before but just weren't at the right time to be seeding in, or, you know, expressions that you've been wanting to delve into but have been having the fear of being moved away from strict doctrine. Perhaps that's your expression too, and that is completely okay. Please go easy with self and soul, and I'll be back real soon. But that's all from myself and the Angelic Council today. Please do take care.